Nirav Shah became a household name during the COVID-19 pandemic, even prompting a local company to make a candy bar in his honor. So far, the majority of the polling done shows that he's the front runner in this primary, and he says he has the experience to do the job.
Good boy. Who's a good boy?
Nirav Shah says spending time walking or running with his dog Fritz helps him be present in his actual job.
It's really about balance for me.
Shah, a Democrat, is the son of Indian immigrants and grew up in rural Wisconsin, in a community that he says is a lot like Maine. Shah received his bachelor's from the University of Louisville and both his medical and law degrees from the University of Chicago. He then served as the director of the Illinois Health Department. In Illinois, Shah faced criticism for his handling of multiple Legionnaires' outbreaks at a state-run veterans home over a 4-year period. 13 people died and 74 people got sick, causing both Democratic U.S. senators from the state, Dick Durbin and Tammy Duckworth, to call on Shah to resign. Shah says he and his team did everything right, but
I could have done more, and I subsequently have learned a lot about, and that was on the communication front.
his time came to an end in Illinois in 2018.
That was a job that I loved, and I learned a lot from and during. But what I really wanted to do was to apply everything that I had learned in that job in another context, in another state.
And he came to Maine to be head of the CDC here, where he faced another public health crisis.
Almost 30 new cases among healthcare workers just since yesterday.
Shah says he's proud of his communication with the public during that time and the work of Mainers.
We all achieved some of the highest vaccination rates in the country and some of the lowest age-adjusted death rates in the country.
He left Maine to work as the #2 at the United States CDC in the Biden administration, but then came back when President Donald Trump was elected, and now wants the Democratic nominee for governor.
What you'll get from me is not policies driven by ideology, but rather policies driven by a desire to solve an underlying problem.
Not surprisingly, focusing on healthcare, but also education. He says in order to make investments in these areas, you need to increase state revenue. That's why he's proposing a millionaire's tax, similar to the one just passed by the state legislature. He also wants to bring more businesses to the state.
By growing Maine's economy, that'll allow us to backfill as much of the Medicaid cuts as possible.
He is also proposing capping health insurance copays and deductibles and wants to lower property taxes.
So how can we think about property tax relief? Well, number one, additional revenue from the wealthiest Mainers, given their ability to pay, can help reduce property tax burdens a little bit.
And wants to increase the homestead exemption from the current $25,000 to somewhere in the six-figure range. Over the last few months, we've heard a lot about Medicaid fraud, including more than $45 million of improper autism payments.
With respect to Maine care fraud, any degree of fraud is unacceptable. And I commend not just the state of Maine, but other state governments for their degree of acting on fraud.
Shah faces 4 other Democrats in the June primary, but says he wants your vote because he'll have your back.
Mainers know that I have shown up for them and had their back in the darkest of days. In the times of the most unbelievable uncertainty, I showed up and stood and delivered for Mainers, regardless of who and where they were.
Shah adds that one of his top priorities, if elected governor, would be to combat childhood hunger in Maine. For Commitment 2026, I'm Jackie Mundry.